Thanks for being here. We know voting is already happening for this election, so let's start with the million-dollar question. Why should you keep your job?
I should keep my job because I think I'm doing a great job for Jackson County. This is my 11th year at the county. First year was with the legislature. And when I look at how far the county's come, I really feel that we've worked hard to bring the county to where it is today. I inherited a system that was full of deferred maintenance from my jail to a lot of the other issues in our county. And from the time that I took this position, it's been really just taking that deferred maintenance and making it real. And we've done it with our jail. We have a new detention center online at the end of the year. We were able to purchase a new health department building. Our old one was 1934. We've been able to enhance all the benefits of our associates to retain our folks. We have a strong pension plan from 74% when I inherited it to 93% at this point. And I think that we've done a good job of just pointing out the things in the county that needs to be taken care of. Well, the previous legislature voted us the ability to purchase a new administration building, and we're still waiting for that to come online. But I think everything is pointing toward progress, and I'd like to keep that going.
Let's talk about one of the major issues voters think needs some attention here, and that's property taxes, right?
Sure.
We've seen this for years now. Assessment issues have been happening. Obviously, 2023 is still top of mind, right, with tens of thousands of appeals. What do you say to voters who want some accountability?
Well, I think that as a county executive, I'm accountable for the things that I can control, no doubt about it. Our assessment issues don't just start at the county. We can't make these laws at the county. They're made at the state. We follow the state mandate. The assessor takes the state mandate and then she puts it into a plan. Then that plan is looked at by the State Tax Commission. Also, it doesn't really take effect until the legislature passes that plan. And
you appointed Gail McCann-Beatty in 2018.
Yes.
Do you stand by that decision, considering everything that we've seen?
I think when you look at it from the standpoint that she's following the law, and I have to support everything that she's done. The State Tax Commission required that Jackson County bring their property values up to market value, and they're looking at 90% to 110%. And I think what Gail did was she did her job. She hit the 90% mark, and then you had a lot of turmoil with the State Tax Commission handing down this mandate and that mandate, and we were afraid that they would get in the middle of this cycle with a different mandate. And so they came down and said, hey, you guys, we want you guys to go at 15%.
They set that cap. You vetoed that initially.
Mm-hmm.
What would you do differently in this process? Because there's a lot of angst out there, especially from people who are worried. We heard from some of them who are worried that they couldn't afford their home because of the massive increases in assessments.
And I think that when you look at that, I think it's from a county executive standpoint, my job is to make sure that those residents have an appeals process that they can get relief from the Board of Equalization or the State Tax Commission. Myself personally, I'm not allowed to set values. And so I can do clerical stuff. I can change addresses. I can, if you double tax, I can do things that way. But I think appealing to the State Tax Commission for a better process is the thing that we've been trying to do. I think that system is broken. And if you look at the 114 counties in the state, 88 are pushing back against the State Tax Commission. And you heard what Platte County had to go through when they dropped a mandate on them at the last minute. So they fought back and went from 15% down to, I think, 8%. So it's the inconsistency of the State Tax Commission that's got everybody in a quandary at this point.
Is there anything the county can do to try to keep the shell shock from happening, the sticker shock from happening later on?
Well, I think basically we got to keep appealing to the State Tax Commission. We can't just arbitrarily set values against the State Tax Commission's wishes, but otherwise we're out of compliance with what you are now. When we went to the 15% cap, then we went from 90% to somewhere around the 70% mark. So when you're out of compliance, then you sign an MOU with the State Tax Commission. So they give you $3 per parcel, and then you lose that. And I think that in a lot of your rural communities, I think that's what's hurting a lot of them, is that they've been able to sign those MOUs, but they don't get the funding from the state that they usually get to do the assessment process itself.
Would you do anything different, assessment-wise?
Well, I mean, other than I definitely have to follow the law. That's number one. And then you basically have to make sure that there are things in place that can help people with their appeals. I know that we had 54,000 appeals in 2023, and 15,000 of those never showed. So we're just trying to figure out when you have over 300,000 properties, then what is that percentage that's acceptable? And you talk to St. Louis, you talk to Jackson County, and everybody's thinking that 10% would probably be that number. But right now, the appeals process really is the strongest thing that we can do for our residents, is make sure that they file their appeals, make sure the BOE, which is the Board of Equalization, they should work with you to equalize those values. And you have the State Tax Commission mostly for your corporate folks and commercial properties. So that it's more or less conversations, just trying to get a better process. You know, we have 3 commissioners, and Jackson County has a commissioner, but he has to recuse himself a lot, so I don't know how much that's helping Jackson County, but I think the key right now is just to make sure that there's an appeals process in place for folks to get relief. If you didn't have that, then you'd have even more serious problems.
Aside from property taxes, you've said repeatedly that you think that the lack of a stadium deal is a reason that we're in this position right now with this recall election. Why is that?
Well, Cody, when you look back at 2023, we talked about that. That's kind of when the recall thing kind of started, but it was dead in the water. Right after the stadium vote failed, the unions, I would point out the Heavy Constructors Association, they got together, they pumped $400 million into the recall. $400,000 into the recall. And I think that's what kicked it off. But it all boils down to the stadium deal. I think that right now I've sent proposals to the Chiefs, but no response to that proposal.
Yeah, when was the last time you spoke to either team?
I'm thinking this has probably been about 4 months ago. We sent the proposal to the Chiefs. The Royals were dealing with the city, trying to decide whether or not they were going to be able to go downtown. So we decided to offer the Chief a proposal of the 3/8 cent sales tax. We basically are trying to create a situation where the county itself can be a partner with the teams, and the community can be a partner with the teams, because the community benefits was a big part of that early discussion. And we offered 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. 1/3 for the Chiefs, 1/3 for county infrastructure and public safety, and 1/3 for university health, which we're responsible for also. So what better community benefit can you give to your community than better health care?
This is through a stadium sales tax extension?
The 3/8 cent sales tax, yes.
Okay. If you stayed on as county executive, what would your involvement be in a stadium deal? Because as you said, communication has kind of ceased between you and the teams.
Well, I think it's ceased because I think everybody's waiting to see what the recall election does. I think at some point both teams will have to say something one way or the other. I think that right now I think the situation right now is that if I'm not in office, then my biggest concern is that who's next and what's next. And I think that when I look at the last election, then we had 2 legislators, Abarca and McGee. Rather than going through the negotiating process and letting me do it, they went around me and got it on the ballot. And it was on the ballot without an assigned agreement by the teams. And so when that went on the ballot like that, then I think the voters, they saw that. It was lack of transparency, and I lost by 16 points. And I think the voters spoke loudly, and that they want a better, they want more transparency. They want to know that the teams are, even though we love the teams, we want both teams to stay here, they want to make sure that this is a partnership that's going to be beneficial not only to the teams, but to the community itself.
Given the border war that's taken shape since last year's vote, how do you see the county moving forward here and actually keeping both teams?
I think basically we just make an offer like everyone else. I mean, right now they're getting 100% of everything they want. So it's not like we're taking anything from them. I think basically what we're pointing out the fact that it's an inequitable lease. When you have the city who's paying $2 million, the state's paying $3 million, and we're paying $54 million, and the return is definitely different. The city is somewhere around $16, $18 million, the state's around $36, $38 million, and we have a $6 million return for a $54 million investment. So we just want to make sure that they are seeing this as an investment with the community, and that we want to work with them. We want to do the best we can to keep them here, but at the same time, we're at a different. We're just at a different era. It's not 2006, and you know, you got I think 35% of the people in Kansas City, they make $35,000 or less. And I think that these are the things that we're focused on now is how much do we want to give when you have nothing in return. And we want to make sure that this is a partnership with the teams and not 100% one way, and then the taxpayers are left with 40 years of taxes, and that's going to be past the stadium life. So we'll see what happens.
Let's talk about county business. One of the other main criticisms we've heard from voters is your noticed absence at county legislature meetings. I know you've heard about this. You've been to 1 or 2 this year, I believe.
Yes,
Why is that?
Well, Cody, first of all, I think that people are making big things out of nothing. I don't have to go to these meetings. I don't have to attend the meetings. Our structure is not set up for me to attend these meetings. I go if I have an interest in seeing something, or if I want to say something positive that's going on in the county. But our system is set up like the state system, where the governor, legislature, I don't have a vote. So when I go into these meetings and I don't have a vote in these meetings, then it becomes a political attack for political points by a couple legislatures. So
Is it not important to be part of the conversation at those meetings?
we're always part of the conversation. I mean, we have individuals. I've talked to legislators when they have programs they want to talk to. I mean, I'm right across the aisle. We meet every Monday to go over the agenda, so we know what's on the agenda. I make sure my chief of staff, my chief administrative officer are at these meetings to answer their questions. And so I think that is a big to-do about nothing. I think that I've always been available. I'm at work every day. And like I say, when they have something to talk about, I work with them.
You've said publicly that you don't think much has gotten done in the legislature in the last 2.5 years. If the voters let you keep your job, how do you mend fences with members of the legislature to try and move county business?
Well, Cody's my hope, since everybody has to run next year, it's my hopes that legislators, politicians are like anyone else. When they run for office, then the voter would ask you, what have you done? So they want to be able to say, I did this, I got this done. And I think that is the one thing that I'm hoping that, since I don't plan to run again, and so then that'll free me up to do everything that they think they might want to do, because we do have a lot of infrastructure projects we need to do. We have, I think, about $40 million in federal funds we need to get out. I put a $30 million RFP out that ended yesterday for disadvantaged communities. So there are things that we can do together that can make the county better. And then you do have legislators who want to do things.
What's holding you back right now, though?
What's holding back now is the 5 votes. The 5 votes on the legislature, that's the majority. And they vote in block, and it's kind of hard to penetrate that when the intent is on dysfunction. And so you have 4 legislators who really want to get something done, and you got the 5 who are holding things up, and even they don't talk to each other. So it's difficult to break that when you have outside interests playing a big part in how they vote and how they move. So I'm hoping that once the election's over, and if I'm successful, then we can say, okay, he's going to be here another year. Let's figure this thing out, and let's move forward. Let's get reelected, whoever wants to get reelected, and go from there.
You've said that regardless of what happens Tuesday, and you just said it again, that you're not running for re-election, but then you've hinted at running for election again, said that you probably wouldn't. So which is it? What's your plan?
There's a good chance. I don't see myself.
A good chance?
I don't see myself running. No, it's time. You know, it's time to finish my term. It's time to move on and enjoy the rest of my life.
I know that you've battled the petitions in court, the recall election on a county level as well. Will you respect the outcome of this election?
Well, you're battling process. You know, you have to ask these questions. You know, when you have ballots that are collected over 2 years, you have to question that. When you have outside people from out of town brought in to collect these ballot signatures, you have to question those things. So if you don't question those things, I mean, you're accepting everything that somebody's throwing at you without even knowing what's going on. So the voters always speak loudest, and I respect the vote of the people.
And you'll respect the outcome of this election?
But the voters say I'm done. I'm done. I mean, I can't say that the courts might come in and say something down the road. I can't do it. I can't say anything about that. But you know, the voters always speak loudest. I respect I think the only way to overturn a vote of the people is by a vote of the people, and that's the way I look at it.
Sure. Looking back on your time as county executive, would you have done anything differently to avoid getting to where we are today?
Well, we've tried to come at that a couple different ways, but I just don't see how. When I came in 16, the 17 assessment and then the 19 assessment is when the state came in and said, hey, something's not right. You guys are out of compliance. And that's when I hired Gail, and then Gail's the first true assessor that's been at the county for the last 10 years. When I came in, the assessor was somebody's buddy, and they had no idea about assessment. And the thing about assessment is not finding someone that can assess a house or assess a building. When you're talking about 300,000 properties, you're talking about mass appraisal. You need someone that can do that. That's why you bring in outside people to help you do that. That's why we did with Tyler Technologies. Because you have to have a workforce that's big enough over 2 years to cover all these properties.
There were issues with Tyler Technologies too.
Well, there are issues with all these big, because there's only a few that can do mass appraisals. So you're always going to have issues with anything that's this big. You're going to have issues. I mean, nothing's going to be perfect. I can't tell you that every property that we looked at was perfect. I can't say that. That's why you have the appeals process. If we didn't have that process, then everybody would have complaints. But I can't say the county is perfect in all their evaluations. But I think that if we go through the process, most people that have gone through the process are okay. The ones who didn't go through the process, who didn't want to go to appeals, then that's going to be an issue at that point.
Any final words before Election Day?
No, I just want the people to get out and vote. I think that the question they need to ask themselves is, I've been here 11 years. I've been reelected twice, and I really believe that there's a big confidence factor in the voters and my ability to do the job. Mainly because I just haven't been afraid to make the tough decisions. I haven't been so political that I didn't make the right decision at the right time. The stadium vote decision was the right decision because I stand between the people and bad decisions that are going to affect them. And so if I've got to make the tough call, I'll make it. I made it during COVID. Ushering our county through COVID was not an easy process. And there was a lot of politics that had to deal with it, from mask mandates to all the other things. So you push back on those things, because it's like you got to compartmentalize things. It's like saying, okay, COVID, it's not a political issue, it's a health issue. And then you just try to use common sense the best way you can to get through that. But I'm not the most political person in the world, but I'm a very common sense type guy, and I know how to make the right decisions at the right time, because I have a lot of family in town, and the decisions that I make, I always think about my family first, because I know they're going to be affected, because I have them from all ends of the scale. And so you have to do what's in the best interest of the people. You're not going to please everybody. You're not going to get 100% of the vote. And that percentage you never get, they're never going to support what you do anyway. So I focus on the majority. And by helping the majority, I'm going to help those folks at the same time.
County Executive Frank White, thanks for your time.
Thank you.